Hello, everybody. My name is Roxtus,
And I'm Soulgale.
and welcome back to Hogwarts Legacy.
Woo!
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, let's go. We got Ominous.
To the Undercroft.
It's been a long time coming for Sebastian.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming.
Hello,
Ominous,
Ominous.
I received your owl. What's happened with Sebastian?
He's been expelled and will soon face trial at the Ministry. Although Anne wanted to turn him in, I think now she's torn. I confess I know how she feels. As much as we all wanted Sebastian to face the consequences of his actions. It will never be the same without him. Just standing here in the Undercroft without Sebastian feels wrong.
I never thought things would end this way. I hope we did the right thing.
I hope so too.
Were you able to tell Sebastian about Rookwood cursing Anne?
I was. Black let me talk to Sebastian before he left. At first he wouldn't believe it. Then he realized it all made sense. Unfortunately, his anger only grew towards goblins and dark wizards. Anne was shocked too, but in some sense relieved to know the truth about who was responsible. I think it brought her some peace.
I'm glad to hear it. She deserves peace.
She does. Sebastian was my best friend. I know you two had grown close, that you were helping each other with more. He means a lot. I know we had a bit of a rocky start, but you've proven yourself. I'm glad you came to Hogwarts.
Oh, interesting.
Quest complete.
Gosh. And then we also have Weasley's Watch for
Where is she at? In her classroom?
Yes. I am still confused on the map. To just be honest about it, I am so confused on the map.
Yeah.
'Cause
I'm
just-
confused.
Yeah, especially even though with waypoints, like I don't know which waypoint goes to where and what's even close to what. It's just still so confusing. And maybe it's supposed to be meant to be that way, but at the same time, it just really is such a poor idea.
Yeah.
But yeah. I mean, that's all I could say about it. I just have no clue where anything is at.
Yeah.
Professor
Hello,
Weasley?
Professor
You
Weasley.
wanted to see me?
I did. We haven't had a chance to speak since I know you were quite close with Professor Fig.
Hogwarts won't be the same without him.
No, it won't. But I can assure you that he would want us to press on, and that he would rest easy.
Thank you, Professor.
You've had quite a year. I've heard all sorts of rumors. You've even helped Mr.
How did you...
It's hard. I'm just glad you found such a good friend in Miss.
Again, if you right click,
It's
you
nice
can
to
just
see her
unintentionally
engaging
skip a
more with her
line.
classmates.
Yeah,
There
I've
have
done that
evidently
by
been
accident.
snitches sightings
Twice.
in the area lately. If the centaurs are to be believed,
I'm certain I...
no need to discuss it further. May I see it?
Of course. What do you think, Professor?
I think you've been busy this year. It seems you've nearly completed your field guide. Well done indeed. With your OWLs soon upon us, I am thrilled to see you so prepared. I will confess, I had a sense about you from that first moment you came.
I didn't finish all the pages of the book, but that's fine.
To think you've only been with us a year and you'll already...
Thank you, Professor. Forever.
You are most welcome. I look forward to seeing what you do during the rest of your time with us.
That was it. And now it's just the owls? Oh, complete your wizard's field guide. Do you have to complete the field guide?
What? You have to complete it?
Really? Oh, I already have. I've already got all my field guide pages.
Complete? I don't think I have all of them completed.
I guess we just go for the house cup from now. I don't know. I'm very confused on that.
I am too.
I'm going to the Great Hall.
Let's just go to the Great Hall.
Yeah. It would be a real shame if we actually had to complete all of the field guide.
Oh, that would suck.
Yeah, that would really, really be painful.
Revelio.
Oh, goodies. He's cheating off of.
It's like, did you study? Are you sure you studied? Ooh. I like the unicorn.
Unicorn. Well, there's the dodo. It's a boggart. Oh, that's cute. Turned him into a cat.
Good thing that wasn't a Dementor.
No. Thank goodness it wasn't.
This year, we have seen our students exemplify the bravery of
It's so
Godric
weird to see,
Gryffindor.
even during the funeral and this scene as well, that our character's just standing in the room
Helga Hufflepuff,
instead of sitting down and enjoying.
the wisdom of Rowena
Yeah.
Ravenclaw, the ambition of Salazar Slytherin. And so, the winner of this year's House Cup.
Excuse me, Headmaster, if I may. One particular student's heroism during the attack on Hogwarts, not to mention the level to which they have excelled in their coursework, as a new student, no less.
Why are we just standing here?
Why are we
Well,
just standing
it
in
would
the
seem
middle
that
of
it
the room?
certainly merits, I'd say, 100 points to their house. Wouldn't you agree?
Ah, yes. Thank you, Professor Weasley. I suppose we have our winner.
That's just weird.
Yeah.
It's just awkward. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. All of Hogwarts Legacy.
All right.
Well, one thing I want to start with is to kind of wrap up this game to get going out the door for the next one. There have been throughout the entire series, just kind of like just being negative, and I'm just going to clarify this to even begin with. I'm not a fan of story-based games. I'm not really one for story-based games, but again, I'm just going to give the credit of the doubt that different people do like different types of games, and whatever your game is that you like, whatever you particularly like, that's your cup of tea. Different people like different flavors of ice cream. I like bubble gum. Some people like different, tastes in ice cream, flavors of ice cream. And maybe, Hogwarts for you, this is the game for you and you really like it. But from from what I've seen of Hogwarts, and the problems that definitely exist in it. I'm just going to go through kind of some things that I definitely find a discrepancy with, but I'm not going to doubt that for some people that they really enjoy this game, and there are some things that I do agree with Hogwarts, where it does show some potential in some areas, and some things are very, very good. Some things are definitely good in that perspective, but other things are pretty bad in terms of design. So starting off, I'm just going to go with the pros of the game. Pros of the game are number one, Hogwarts in and of itself. The entire Hogwarts castle, to be specific.
Oh yeah.
Not Hogwarts map, Hogwarts castle. So Hogwarts map is actually kind of negative in that fact, because Hogwarts map is actually really small in comparison to other games such as Elden Ring or even Grand Theft Auto. I believe the map multiplier from Hogwarts to any of those games like Grand Theft Auto 5 or Elden Ring is like a 10 times difference. So Elden Ring compared to Hogwarts, Elden Ring's map is 10 times the size of Hogwarts. So
Yeah.
in terms of the map and in the size of the map and just how much you can actually adventure, you have 10 times less than Elden Ring. Now, you might go, hey, so for some games, they even have smaller maps. Well, that might be the case, but even with something like Warframe, where they have randomized generator for their tile sets, you
Mhm.
basically have infinite, I'd have to say at that point, map space. And plus, to how big the world is within Warframe, you feel like the map is almost to that point endless, and you've
Yeah.
got so many different planets that you can adventure and go through in between. So this, where the map is just kind of abysmal to even begin with, it's just really a negative to the entire map size. However, in terms of Hogwarts, in terms of accuracy on Hogwarts, I feel like at least they did a decent job. I'm not sure if it's 100% of what Hogwarts is, what it's supposed to be as it was in the movies, but it seems pretty accurate as to what the movies entailed, Hogwarts' size and everything like that. However, again, I'm going to knock it again for that. Hogwarts, just being able to travel to and from through the map, is just terrible, because
Mhm.
you don't know where you're going, you don't know, what floor you're on, and not having a detailed map or an interior side view of the detailed map is pretty terrible, especially when you're looking at the map in general.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so I would say, though, I'm just going to give the credit to the Hogwarts map, that the Hogwarts map is detailed, and it has, for just the castle, and then especially for other areas, and just overall graphics. Graphics are decent. Some games do worse, some games do better, but graphics are decent for this game. They're, I would say, a little bit above decent. I would say at least out of a 10, 7 or 8 on graphics. It's decent. It's better than most games, and it's not as good as most really, really good games in terms of graphics. Um,
Yeah.
the second thing that I would say that would be good about Hogwarts, I'm trying to struggle and try to find my other second thing that was really, really good about Hogwarts. Um, but I'm just gonna delve in. I'm just gonna do a short summary here. 27, 73, 17, and 60. So out of 100% of the game, 27% was combat. Of the combat was kind of good. Combat was kind of relative. I wish they stuck with the old Harry Potter spells and abilities. I wish they didn't have ancient magic. I wish that it was just kind of, what would you say, legacy vanilla Hogwarts experience, Harry
Mhm.
Potter experience, where it was just the basic spells. A lot of the combat was a little bit too much in certain cases. And the thing is I felt throughout the map that the combat was kind of consistent across the board when you're just traveling throughout the overworld map. This was good because you didn't have, 20 or 60 enemies running all at you at the same time. However, in a lot of these cutscenes or in a lot of the forest battles, they just kept on spawning in more and more units, and it got to the point of, this is just kind of ridiculous. Why am I fighting an army of people when I really should be only fighting 1 or 2 people? So in that
Yeah.
case, for the combat, it just felt like it was just completely overloaded in some cases. But overall, the map areas of the game, that actually felt pretty decent, because there was constant enemies, but especially during just like the quest lines and the points where you were inside of a cave or a cavern or something, it just felt like there was just too many enemies to even
Mm-hmm.
begin with. So I wish it was just kind of more strewn out instead of just loading in, 50 enemies all in one spot. So there, I wish the combat was more legacy, and I wish that the enemies were just a little bit more done well as well. Another part of the 27% as well is also the function of the game. The function of the game in terms of settings and just making sure that the game can function off the ground, and making sure that you can travel from point A to B to C to D, and just function of the game. I would just have to give it, I don't know, 50%. Some of the function of the game is there, some of it is there, but the other half of it, it's just like, it's pretty terrible in terms of transportation. I especially if you've been watching the series from the beginning, you would understand. It's just like throughout the entire gameplay, it's been really terrible with the function of the game. So that's 27%. The 73% that I'm going to say is the other portion of the game is going to be story portion of the game. And of that 73%, 13% of the story was actually story that I would consider be relative to the story and actually essential to the story. So there are cutscenes and some really good golden scenes. And this is my second big positive off of Hogwarts that I forgot earlier, is this is the 13% that was a really good cutscenes, really good parts. There are some obvious cutscenes that was just completely terrible, because when you look at, just like the ending cutscenes and all, it's so terrible. It is
Mm-hmm.
so terrible. It's just, they don't put enough thought into it. And especially in, I believe it was episode 23 or whatever the episode was, we just straight up died because we caved ourselves into the area. But again, like,
Yeah.
there are some cutscenes, there are some gold mines there. But again, it's really disconnected from the characters all the way through the game. The story is completely disconnected, no matter which way you're looking at it, because when you're listening to the characters talking through their lines, or they're talking about events that have happened, they're talking in the third person sense. I have no idea why that is. And then especially through just playing the game all the way through the game, having to load into every single section instead of just, like, let's say, hey, Poppy's quest line, Natty's quest line, the main quest line, and Sebastian's quest line, doing each of those smaller quests in just one go, instead of having to load every single quest in an individual portion, which just slows down the entire quest line. And it
Yeah.
slows down the entire storytelling, and it slows down everything. And then especially when you're waiting for the game to load, it just is so disconnected from the actual story. You don't even feel like you're a part of the story. And especially there's just moments in the game where it's just like, this is just so awkward. It doesn't even feel like an actual real moment. They're trying too hard here. It just threw apart the game. So again, I will say there are some gold spots. The second part that I can say that there are gold spots, in the mind, where you can say, hey, there's this one cutscene, it was really good. And then there's other cutscenes that are just abysmal, but at least 13% of those cutscenes were really, really good. So I'll give it to Hogwarts for those two things, the Hogwarts map and some of the story. When I say some, I only mean 13%. So it's a very low percent that you're looking at that's actually good story here. The other 60% could have been cut from the game. Could have been fat that's just cut off of the chicken, and you don't need it. It's just excess, it's just junk. And a lot of this is, I'm a completionist. When I went through Elden Ring, I completed 100% of the game. When I'm looking at Hogwarts, I got so distracted. I was looking forward to, with the knight suits of armors that you can get for the what's it called, the room of requirement, so I can put down my suits of armor and be able to just decorate the room however
Yeah.
I see fit. And I'm waiting for those decorations to actually decorate the room. Just give me the damned decorations already. Just give me the cloaks already so I can change my appearance however the hell I want. Why do I have to wait until the very end of the game? This is not an online multiplayer game. This is not like League of Legends. This is not like, I'd have to say Warframe in that part as well, because even for those games, it's like, yeah, you have to work to be able to get those things in the game. But the thing is the game is meant to be for online co-op, and that's why it takes so long. But this is a story playing game. Why do I have to take all this time and effort just to unlock skins and all this other side junk? Just have it unlocked from the get-go. And a lot of that 60% is just side and excess waste where you could just cut it from the game and you would be way better off without it. And in fact, you could have spent the time and the effort of that 60% working on the focus of the game, working on the function of the game, making the map bigger, making sure that all the bugs are fixed, making sure that combat is a little bit more well fleshed out, that the story is a little bit better. You could have taken all that effort that you've taken into the field guide pages, all these collectibles and all these side quests and all these, little small parts that are insignificant to the actual function of the game, and rather focus on the function of the game. And I'd actually rather see you actually put the full 20% into story design, which this did not do.
No.
So, like, yeah, the axe has come down. The axe has kind of cut the head off of the dragon, and we're just kind of looking at the dead end of the end of this game. But at the same time, man, you could have spent so much more time on the actual flow, the actual function of this game, and they didn't. And that's something I really, really enjoy about something like Ocarina of Time, because when you're looking at Ocarina of Time, oh man, like let's say Natty, for example. Oh, my father, there's this action or there's something that happened, and I'm just going to tell you about it. Have a damned cutscene that shows what happened. Ocarina of Time, very opening cutscene. What happens? Ganondorf runs out of the castle chasing after Zelda. Hello? This is just stupid. Oh my goodness. From the very get-go out of the gate, some of the cutscenes, some things were good, but a lot of it was just, can you shut up and just show me, the storyline? And a lot of just all this talking was just annoying.
Yeah.
Annoying all the way through. So I'm going to leave it at that. The two big bonuses for Hogwarts are going to be the map of Hogwarts, specifically castle, not the actual map. The actual map needs a lot of work. It needs a lot more space to actually be able to consider it to actually be a world in and of itself. And the second thing is the story. There are gold mine parts of the story, but a lot of it needs to be revamped, needs to be, taken back to square one and actually sit down and go, hey, is this even a story? What's our story to even begin with? And then just crop out a lot of this talking. Because I mean, especially if I can read the text a lot faster than someone saying it, why the heck am I sitting and reading everything that you're sending my way?
Yeah.
So I really got annoyed. I really got pissed off, of course, with all the reading. That's just me. And again, I'm going to say it's going to be your cup of tea. It's going to be on your end of the ice cream. What flavor ice cream? Everyone has their own taste of ice cream. If you like reading voice lines and you like listening to the characters and you like taking the slow route through the game, that's you. I appreciate, I do see that for what it is. And some people really, so I'm not going to say that the game is completely ridiculous in that sense. But for me, particularly, I just had a hard time sitting still listening to every single word that came out of everyone's mouth. So that's just me. It just seemed like way too much talking.
Yeah.
But yeah. And then of course, I'm going to just mention this too, as Harlow was introduced way late into the game, and we never even saw him until that moment in time. Introduce your characters as they come along, and there are some instances where it's like, maybe introducing that character last is kind of a big revelation or something like that, because even within the Matrix, the wasn't it the designer or something that was in the room? But it was like, yeah, there are some points where it's like, let's hold back this person from you ever actually being able to have a conversation. Same thing with Lelouch and his father, from actually have a conversation with them. And then you can kind of see their point of view. But unveiling Harlow was just kind of like, it wasn't that great. I could have
No.
been introduced to that character a lot earlier. I could have had a lot more interactions with a lot more people. A lot of things could have been happening way earlier than they did, and it took way too long for anything to ever happen. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anything else you want to add to that? Because I went through kind of like everything off the top of my head. I don't have notes. I just am going through things off the top of my head, but
Fix your lighting.
yeah. Yep. A lot.
I'm tired of getting flashbang grenaded
Oh my
in
goodness.
a cave.
So if you turn off ray tracing and you go into a cavern, cave, building, indoors, the physics breaks for the walls, so it considers that through the doorway that you're seeing light through the doorway, like your eyes are adjusting for the light, but it makes the light so bright because it's a adjusting for it or whatever you want to call it, but it breaks the walls and it basically flashbangs you through the walls. And this is strewn throughout the game. If you turn off ray tracing because your computer cannot handle it, which most computers are not going to be able to handle this game to even begin with, unless you're
No.
going to be on a platform like N64 or Nintendo, the new Switch. But if you're on like a new Switch or something like that, it'll be able to handle that. Most of those newer devices will be able to handle that. But especially if you have a computer and you're trying to play this on a computer and your computer cannot render that for whatever reasons, which I would say highly significant because not everyone has a really nice computer that they can play a really tasky game on, then you're going to have to turn off ray tracing. And therefore, since you turn off ray tracing, this is throughout the entire game, again with settings, throughout the entire game, it's abysmal. It is abysmal.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just get flashbang through the walls just because they didn't take the time to go, what happens if someone doesn't have a good enough computer to actually turn off ray tracing? Should we actually test that? And they never apparently did.
No, I literally have to go into a cave at night.
Yeah, just to make sure the sun
or
is
into a
not.
house.
Yeah.
Just so I don't get blinded by the light.
Yeah, and the reason why at night is because then the sun's not out.
Yeah.
And because the sun's not out, then you don't get flashbanged.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. I don't think there's anything else more that I can really add to this game. I just can't because that's all there is for this game. That and plus two, it really doesn't have any function. I wish there was more multiplayer that you could actually have, especially after the main story. The main story is kind of abysmal as it is, but especially with multiplayer, I don't see any multiplayer other than you can kind of play with the brooms, I guess, but that's kind of it.
Or the hippogriffs.
Yeah, there's no real function for the game or no real like actual gameplay. Like Warframe's a really good fun game that you can play all the time, and just there's always a utility. There's always a something that you can actually do in Warframe. It always has that appeal to me. Same thing with, I could even say, with Elden Ring or even Dark Souls 3. There's always a utility, but for this game, it's just to play the story and just to play the game, and that's just kind of it. And it's just this bad. Yeah.
Yeah. Didn't you also say something about the following leash range?
Oh yeah, keeping it, yeah. But I mean, like that's something that's just kind of rudimentary. That's just something that you should just know as a developer. You shouldn't just be, oh, let's crowd someone with 10 in if there's a crowd or something, let's not crowd the player with that. It's rudimentary. It's not something that needs a lot of brain power. It's just, can you please not crowd the player? And I don't, maybe there are some cases in games that you want that function for whatever reason. I could definitely see that, where it's like, hey, maybe there's an enemy or something and they creep you, block you, but at the same time, that is just annoying. And then plus two, every like 2 or 5 seconds, you get staggered in combat with abilities and spells, or if you get hit with an attack, which is really annoying. Oh my goodness. Yeah, that's terrible. Again, but I mean, like for that, I wish the combat was just what it is. And plus two, because you do get overwhelmed. There's just too many opponents attacking you all at once.
Yeah.
And you have to kind of learn to back up and take them one at a time. And it is too much. It is too much loading in that many people all at the same time. And especially even the game says so, because a lot of the time you will get freezes. And like you said too, when you're attacking, you're like, oh, I'm getting lag. Well, it's because there's so much going on that the game is actually lagging because it's loading so many different things off of those units, or maybe it was just the ray tracing or something. I don't know. But obviously the game lags whenever you're in combat with too many people.
Well, it's not when I'm in with too many people. It's if I've played the game for
A
like
longer duration.
a
Yeah.
longer duration and then I just do like an auto attack and then it's like lagging.
Yeah, well, I've tested out to a little bit of further extent. I know it's based upon units because if you take out all units except for one, the game runs normally.
Hmm.
So it's more of a stress gating, a stress load where it's trying to render, it's trying to load, or it's trying to do something, and it's just bogging down the system. And that's just terrible. And it really shouldn't be that way because you shouldn't be loading in that many opponents anyway
Yeah.
during fights, especially this is Harry Potter. We're not fighting an army. We're not like in Warframe where we're pulling, 1,000 units our way. Because I mean, like in 10 minutes, you can take Mag and you can kill 1,000 units easy. This is not part of Harry Potter. Harry Potter is more so story based line, and I get that, but the way they've done it is terrible.
Yeah.
It's not done very well. But yeah, again though, like you said too, with just like Poppy blocking me and all that, it's like, yeah, but again, like that's kind of rudimentary. That's just kind of, you know, design. If you have characters that aren't supposed to be in an area or they're not supposed to be, following you too close or whatever else, you need at least 15 feet, or I believe it's like 5 meters or something at minimum.
Yeah.
And obviously it was way closer than that. It was like 10 feet, 3 meters. And she was just right on your butt. And it's very obvious to see though. It's like you turn around in a hallway and she's following you. It's not like
Yeah.
League of Legends where you have, what do they call that? Ghost Blade or whatever it is that you can just walk through creeps.
Um
I forget what the terminology is there, but
I thought it was just called Ghost.
yeah, ghosting.
Yeah.
So like if there's an entity there, instead of you bumping into that unit, you can use ghost or ghosting, and I believe it's Dancer's Blades that provides ghosting, and you can just walk through units rather than getting bumping into those units, which is great because then you don't have to walk around units or do anything like that. You can just walk through people.
Yeah.
But again, like that's not the case with Poppy, and that's just kind of annoying when you're doing a puzzle and someone's just standing there. That would be kind of like the equivalent of like, playing a Legend of Zelda game and you're trying to do a puzzle and then like you've got, Zelda there and she's standing on top of a block or whatever and she's completely canceling you from actually moving that block, which actually in Legend of Zelda, I don't believe that's even the case. I believe that you can grab the object or whatever you're doing regardless and it'll just move that NPC right out of the way. So even in Legend of Zelda, it's not an issue
Yeah.
because it'll bounce that unit away from you. So yeah, but again, like that just to me seems like it's a rudimentary. It's just like that shouldn't even exist. That shouldn't even be a problem. And if it's really a problem like that, that just becomes annoying, you know. But again, I'm
Yeah.
not going to say too much on that part because it's just like it's kind of your cup of tea. If you really like a game, like Hogwarts or something like that, I'm not gonna axe it too hard because I do understand there are people that really like Harry Potter and they really like the series, but again, like this game does not hold up to what I would consider to be a good game. And I don't know if there's any other Harry Potter games out there that are actually just as good or maybe even better than this game. Because even for Star Wars, trying to find a good game for Star Wars,
Mhm.
it's really hard to find good games that have been developed for Star Wars. Just like the movies have been good, but trying to find good games that actually encapsulate what you want out of a game for like Star Wars or Harry Potter
Yeah.
or any game for that matter, you know, trying to get the characters to be accurate, trying to get you know, the vibe of the whole game or the whole, movie down into a game, it's actually pretty difficult to do because you have to be pretty accurate to actually do that. Some games do a really good job of it and some just don't.
Mhm.
But yeah, I just look for accuracy. I look for function and making sure that the game can actually function. And I kind of look at also story and see how much actually things actually make sense. But yeah. Good question though too is for me about Death Note, because I actually did go through Death Note and I go, hey, there's actually one critical problem with Death Note that at one point they actually mess up in Death Note.
Hmm.
Yeah. Is there anything you can add to that?
Not that I'm aware of.
No. Skip this cutscene.
Can we skip it?
You right click.
Oh. House
Yes.
cup complete.
Yeah. Yeah, but that's all that we have for Hogwarts. And I'm not gonna lie, like throughout the entire game, I've been fighting myself because like I have gotten so bored and so tired of reading I'm not even gonna lie, because it's just I've gotten so bored and so tired of reading everything from the very start of the game to the end of the game. And I actually got so bored of this game, I actually had to play a second game to even revive myself to be able to even play this game. Otherwise, I would have not done 100% on this game. I would have not finished it.
Yeah.
And that might just be me, that I just, completely don't like this game altogether. That just might be my cup of tea, is I just don't like to play something that wastes my time. And I don't like, my personal preference. I don't like for my reasons, my own reasons. But I'm not going to doubt that there are people that really do like this game for what it is, and they really enjoy it and they really play it because they like it. But just for me, I was so bored. I did want to take the time though to go through 100% of the game and just to kind of give my thoughts on it and just kind of move on from here. But
Yeah.
again, like if I start something, I generally want to finish it because I want to see everything all the way through to the end. And if there's a part where I actually skip and I actually don't play something to the fullest extent, it's going to mainly be because of it's kind of just too many sides on the game, or there's microtransactions, or there's too much stuff where instead of playing the game and being able to play the game, it's just it's just wasting your time. Too many microtransactions, too much farming for the game, too much time wasted sitting down and trying to play the game versus actually enjoying the game and actually sitting down and being able to play the game just to play the game.
Yeah.
And that's just kind of a tools and utility belts too, as well, when you're looking at something like this. What do I mean by tools and utility? When you open up a software and you open up a program, the reason that you're opening up the program is so that the program can execute and do a job for you that you need it to do. That's why I call it a tool. It's like if you pick up a wrench and you use a wrench, or you use a screwdriver, each of those tools has its own application, has its own use. So if you're opening up, let's say OBS, you're going to record. If you're going to open up, Excel, or, whatever the application is, it has its usage.
Yeah.
When you pull open, let's say, Ocarina of Time, you're looking for a kind of story type game. You're kind of looking for kind of reminiscence as well, but you're looking for just the function of the game, just to be able to play the game. And when you've got so many things that can sidetrack you from just being able to have that gold mine and being able to just play the game, that's just to the point where it's just like, this is kind of ridiculous, because all these side things, the game is good. The game has certain gold qualities about it that I like, but then there's all these side things that just kind of rip away from the main core of the game, the gold mine, as you would say, of the game, and for me to be able to enjoy the game. And Warframe is actually on that 50-50 point where I would say the farming is really annoying, because even like I've played Warframe for a very long time here.
Oh yeah.
I'm not even gonna try around that one, but it just the farming that it really wears down on you. It takes so long to go through and to farm everything.
Oh yeah.
My goodness. It just takes way too long to farm for anything. But again, though, for Warframe, for what it is, it functions. It's a good game. I love the combat. I love jumping around off of walls. It's very action packed, and
Mhm.
it gets you right into the game. Um, but again, like that's not Hogwarts, I know. But again, like for even something like Warframe, they need to work on the story. There is no real good story backing up Warframe. If they had a really good story, I would be more than intrigued and I would be more than involved. But again, like you've got to kind of build that story, otherwise it kind of falls flat. Same thing with let's say even Star Wars. Star Wars has a movie series behind it, and same thing with Harry Potter. So if you have something that has a good story behind it, let's say Harry Potter or Star Wars, you're going to have pretty good backing behind that game because of the name and because of the story behind it. Because you have a story and you have a name, all you have to do is just make a game that has function, that has combat, that has things that you would actually want to do inside those worlds. You don't have
Mhm.
to create or generate a lot of content or a lot of story to be able to create that game. You just have to make the game function, be able to play as combat and be able to create animals and be able to just play throughout the game and play throughout the environment. You don't have to work all that much on story. And where this game, it's like, okay, well, we already have Harry Potter, but why are we adding in more story when we already have story? You could just make the game.
Yeah.
You don't have to do anything. You just make the game. You just work on function and functionality and making sure that the game is actually playable. And you're going to have a lot of people playing that game because it functions. That's
Yeah.
just the end of the story. Same thing even with Warframe. But again, like Warframe, it has good function. You need a story. You need something behind it to actually get players, get people interested in the actual story. And that's where for a game versus, movie, a movie is more enticing to sit down and watch, especially if it has a good story behind it, than if it didn't. So something that would be interesting for me in the future, though, if they ever make a Invincible game, that would be awesome. And I know they've already created what's it called, the worlds, uh,
Uh-huh.
Rick and Morty and quite a few other cartoon characters as well in one game, and it's just kind of like a Super Smash Bros type game.
Oh,
I forget what
multiverse?
multiverse. Yep, yep.
Yeah,
So
multiverse.
that to me is actually intriguing because you're taking in multiple characters. But again, like, yeah, it depends. It depends on the game. It's really hard to kind of pin down because some games are pretty good at storytelling. Because you even look at Final Fantasy, it's like that game is really good at storytelling, but at the same time being able to create story as well. So
Yeah.
some things that you have to kind of think about and you have to kind of look at, because a game can be function, but it can also be story as well. So even
Mhm.
something like Ocarina of Time, they do a really good job on story, and sometimes story is a lot better done condensed, where it's just like get through the story and actually go through the story, than have it be super super long and it takes you forever to get through the story,
Yeah.
and then you lose focus of the actual game in and of itself. I've really enjoyed the Legend of Zelda games. It's kind of story and game and puzzle and everything kind of in between, and they do a really good job on them,
Yeah.
and I
I
really
I
enjoyed it.
actually enjoyed Legend of Zelda as well.
Yeah. Well, that's enough for my tangent. Ah, yes. Well, is that all the time we have for this episode?
Unfortunately, yes.
Yes. And we will see you guys in a new game in the very next video. Bye bye.
Bye-bye.